Hello and welcome to Edison TV. Now, we all know that gold has been a fantastic investment. It is up roughly 50% year to date. But what has done better than that? Or, to be more precise, which gold stocks have done better than that? Well, I can give you one. You could have bought KEFI earlier on this year at 0.44 pence a share, and they're now trading at 1.28. I would say I'll let you do the math, but actually I'll do it for you. That's up 3 times in the space that gold has been up 50%. So what is catalyzing this move? Well, joining me now is the chairman of KEFI Gold and Copper, Harry Anagnostaras-Adams. Harry, thank you for joining us very much indeed. Just talk us through the catalyst we've seen in the last couple of days.
Well, going into a frontier market for our sector was fraught with risk, which in hindsight proved that it was very challenging, but we managed it. And doing so with all those challenges over the past decade in a very lackluster gold sector, I suppose you could say suppressed the share price. Because of the frustration involved for everybody concerned. But over the last few days, the fact that we've signed off the offering, accepted the formal offering of debt for 70% of the capital involved with developing the project, means that the big money, the big institutional money, the safe, highly disciplined, highly due diligenced money has said that what we've put together is excellent and is game on for development. So the debt offering we've accepted means that 70% of our development budget is covered, means we can round up, well, we have rounded up, means we can finish off the equity portion now and start the development of a major gold project, which I think is probably the highest margin, highest return proposition for development, gold development in Africa today. So I think what's happened in the last few days is the penny's beginning to drop, that the dark ages are behind us, and it's sort of game on.
Into the sunlit uplands, as Churchill might have said.
Oh, yeah, or, the train has left the station, or whatever whatever.
Exactly. So, what are next steps?
Well, it's an incredibly busy time, and we're absolutely flat out. I keep getting asked, have you gone out for a big celebration? Have you had bottles of champagne? No. Fact of the matter is, it's all execution now. It's all execution every day. From the site, where the managing director has hosted the construction people out at site, for them to prepare themselves to mobilise, checking everything, all very happy, all very raring to go, to the lawyers in the hustle and bustle of the City of London, beating the hell out of each other over the final details, all ready to go, to the banks, basically now that they've signed up, they really just want us to get on with it so I can make money and get on with it. To the government, to the community, everybody just wants to get on with it. So I pivoted in my role. I pivoted straight onto finishing off the equity now. And that's the intense job now. And we've got 3 big balls in the air, so to speak. I'm not trying to be crude here, but
but well done anyway.
But you've got a mining fund, you've got local fund capital, and you've got what do you call it, a gold streamer. And all of them are $50-60 million people, really. And we only need one of them. And they're all there, milling around. And
can you scale them back a third?
Yeah, we can.
Are they not up for that?
Some of them are not so egocentric that you can't massage it a bit. But you couldn't until we nailed down the debt.
Bank, and then you nailed that down.
That's, having nailed that down, we now have to nail down of those three parties. That's it, really. And jumping on a plane, zipping here, zipping there, closing it off, really. That's what we're doing. And in a month or so, we'll have a big
Party, by the sounds of it.
a big signing ceremony.
Sorry, that's about a signing ceremony.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And I've learned healthy paranoia over the last decade, to be honest, just to protect the project and survive the dark ages, as we call them in the sector. Not just dark ages, but doing so in a frontier market, doing so under duress at times. So I've learned some healthy paranoia. I've never been in court defending the company before. I've never had to deal with security issues of this nature before. But we've done it all, and we've built systems around us to do that going forward.
Can I ask you to reflect on the highs and lows of the last 10, 12 years?
Well, the most intense moment to me of the whole thing was when some of our people were kidnapped. And we took 2 months to talk them out, basically. We couldn't use money. If you use money,
you're on a slippery slope.
You're being set up as an ATM machine.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. And it took 2 months. And that was intense. Talking about human life is a different category of management altogether. Money and share prices don't even come into the equation. It's protecting people's lives. And that was my low moment, if you like. But we did it all very well, and we learned from it, and we we're a stronger company for it, if I put it that way, and never again, and it's been managed properly. The high point, there's lots of bibs and bobs that add up to the fact that crafting this relationship and this position in Ethiopia, the only country in Africa that's never been colonized, the country where the nationals have something in their DNA which means that they're incredibly resilient and tough deep down. Otherwise, how could that be the fact that they've never been colonized? How can they be the base for the African Union? So, and contending with all of that, however that expressed itself through the decade, and coming out of it as the first institutional quality investment in the country for the private sector, when the country is taking off, when the gold price has taken off, and to be appointed personally the consul representing the country for representing Ethiopia to another country, tells you that hardship that we went through sort of earned us a relationship, and it doesn't come overnight. So the low point is the hardship. The high point is that it actually positioned us as people that can be trusted and relied on to do it properly and with discipline. That will stay with me forever. The rest of it is execution, money, all the things that one does to run a business. But those are the two summary points I'd take from the last decade. I've been a very bad husband. I've been a very bad father. I've been a very bad grandfather.
So
I can tell you many things I'm not good at, but I think that would summarise what I take from the last decade.
And tell us a little bit, what's the operating environment like now in Ethiopia?
Well, it's a buzz. The country is going whooshka. Big IMF, World Bank development push. The political leadership has discovered the world of private sector development. It was all public sector development until some years ago. And the fact that you can see now deregulation of the capital markets, floating of the currency, all sorts of things that are happening. It's like the tiger economies of Asia in 1990. They took off. That's what's happening. There's a gold rush. I'm told 14,000 excavators have been bought in Ethiopia with people rushing off into into the back blocks to dig for gold. It's like a gold rush. It is a gold rush. But all I can say is that the sort of the initiation of the previous decade has prepared us with our eyes wide open, with systems, with controls, with relationships, which means that there's no naivety left in the beast. It's all eyes wide open, well disciplined, strong, and I've fallen in love with the country despite all those hardships. A bit like a marriage, really, isn't it? You fall in love, you drives you crazy, but you're still in love, But
Well, as long as your wife doesn't see this, we're absolutely fine.
Hey, she does drive me crazy, but
She understands.
Yeah, she understands.
Like a naval wife.
So I think very exciting in the country, but it's not for precious petals or fragile people. You've got to be pretty strong to deal with the only country that's never been colonized. You get pushed around.
Yeah.
You got to stand up and push back. Properly.
Yeah. So next steps, in full project launch later this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And production late 27, early 28, is that?
Yeah. 2 years.
What we're looking at. And then I'm going to allow you a bit of largesse here. In 5 years' time, what would you like KEFI to look like?
What would I like it to look like?
Yeah.
Well, launching Tulu Kapi is a stepping stone. It's a critical stepping stone because it unlocks billions of dollars of cash flow. So that's clearly number one priority. But you don't go into a frontier market and invest all that time to help deregulate it and unlock it without bigger things in mind. Tulu Kapi was chosen because it was nowhere near a border and all those issues that one confronts in fluid borders around Africa. It had no social or environmental legacy issues. So from an ESG viewpoint, it ranks highly. And from a pure economics viewpoint, the fact that it's high-grade, free-milling ore ranks highly. So it's a stepping stone in a vision. In Australia, that same rock suite that you have where we are in Ethiopia has taken Australia from a backwater in gold and many other minerals to number 2 or 3 or 4 in the world in many minerals, including gold. And I believe that could happen in Ethiopia, and I believe the prospectivity is there. And I believe it won't take 50 years like it did in Australia. You can halve the time just by learning the lessons that we learned. So I see a huge country of prospectivity, the greenest, cheapest energy in the world now, the largest hydro scheme in Africa. So you've got green energy, cheap energy, the prospectivity that's made Australia great is there and not yet tackled. So I see a huge opportunity way beyond Tulu Kapi. Could be 5 Tulu Kapis, whatever. But time will tell. We'll get it. You have to dive into the swimming pool and swim around and deal with it. It isn't done from sitting in London or Australia or anywhere else. You've got to get in there. And starting off with the position that we have in Tulu Kapi, I think it opens up the possibilities for us. So I see a much larger organisation with several mines running and a big pipeline of opportunities.
What about Saudi? There was a suggestion earlier in the year, I think, that you might be looking to divest yourselves of your Saudi assets or your Saudi joint venture, including the assets. Is that still a thought, or?
Well, the fact that it was so expensive to keep up means we couldn't keep up. And, if the share price had been a different share price, we could have kept up, but we couldn't. And that's not saying anything other than the facts of the matter. Now, at a 15% shareholding, really, is it worth selling it for the price that one would get for that position in the company versus the fact that it's going to start up its gold mine shortly. You'll see it come through, and then it'll start up the second one not long thereafter. You'll see it come through, versus the fact that a very large copper gold mine will come up within a couple of years. It's coming through already. You've seen it in our releases. So you've got this huge pipeline coming through, a very good relationship with our partner, and we can change the mix between different projects as we go forward. You take more of this one, you take less of that one, that sort of stuff. It's a very healthy, whatever makes sense commercially.
Yeah.
I think that, we'll no longer be in a position where it's painful to keep up. We'll no longer be in a position where we can't afford to be in two areas. And in fact, I think the opposite. I think it will be relatively easy to keep up. It'll be important to have two legs to the stool rather than just one. And there'll be opportunities to increase our beneficial interest in one project or another as we work it out with our partners going forward. So I'm no longer bugged by it. If the sector had stayed suppressed, would have been a headache, but it's not a headache now. And I think we should just play it out properly. The fact that we put the spotlight on it worked. Frankly, it flushed out all sorts of third parties with all sorts of ideas. It put the pressure on the system to, lay out all that choices internally, put pressure on internally as well. And we overhauled management. We brought the projects up a few notches. So it was a healthy pressure to apply to our situation, and we're better off for it. But the most important thing is that there is no pressure on having to make a decision now, and we should just optimise it with our partner. And I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah. Very thoroughly, I think.
Okay.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about, and you touched on this in your last announcement, but there are also a couple of lithium licenses out there in Ethiopia that you're taking an interest in.
The world has changed. It's just, I've spent, it's probably both of us, we spent most of our working lives in an industry which is incredibly poorly understood and looked down upon historically more than looked up to, despite the fact that everything you can see or touch is either grown or mined, more or less, that we've done. And so the political rhetoric today of leadership globally, or country leadership globally, is actually the rhetoric that's always been inside our heads, but it hasn't been popular before. The role of gold in the world and the critical importance of resource security. It's been in our heads, industry heads, but not in political leadership heads or in general populace heads. So what's happened today is that not only has gold reclaimed its traditional role of the last 5,000 years and adjusting itself accordingly, but all of a sudden I think the West has woken up to the fact that China has played them as a fool for decades, I think, and put its foot on resources, but there's a scramble to somehow rectify now. And a lot of those resources are in that terrain of rocks in Ethiopia and in Saudi Arabia. And so it's a huge opportunity. Now, it may be that, we have to be very careful not to distract on our main game, to put the main game on the road. Maybe that we have to spin off, I don't know, that sort of side of things. But we have to do whatever sensible to do two things: deliver on the main game of getting Tulu Kapi into production and unlocking billions of dollars of cash flow, and have a good think about with our friends in the marketplace and in the countries about what do we do about the rare earths and the critical materials that in these countries that haven't been properly assessed and tackled yet, in a world where all of a sudden everyone's talking about it. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a bit left field at the moment, but I think, once the show's on the road at Tulu Kapi, we could set up a separate team of people to have a good think about that.
Excellent. Harry, food for thought. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Harry Anagnostaras-Adams, the chairman of KEFI Gold and Copper. Keep an eye on it. Have a look at it. As I say, shares you could buy for under a halfpenny earlier this year, now trading at about 1.28, up 3 times. And I'll tell you, when gold was down $250 odd, or roughly 5% the other day, one of the only gold counters in the entire world that was higher was KEFI. It's definitely worth a look. We'll be bringing you more such investments in the very near future here on Edison TV. But until then, you have a very capital day.